can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious.
And as we speak, it's absolutely persistently raining, and they say more to come, and this fuels the absolute nonsense about climate change. Wait till we get onto that. But first of all, Ivan's Don. Welcome, Don. Ivan's with us. He's back from the Antipodes. Here he is. Max is not with us because he's injured. He injured his thumb playing basketball and is in a state of disrepair. And of course, Fiona Byrne. I think she's been warned off by an employer.
No, she hasn't.
Hasn't she? You've been speaking to her, have you?
I think I spoke to her last week.
You think you spoke to her. This is the trouble with you, Don.
No, hang on. I've got to think whether it was last week or the week before.
You've got to think, I think, is probably...
No, just because your memory's going...
Well, I told you about a function.
Attack is the best means of defence in your case.
I told you about a function and the
No, Johnny, we won't go there. Now, can I compliment you on your dressing? For the first time, you're wearing a pastel colour. It changes your whole... and glasses. How long have you been wearing the glasses?
Well,
they're not bad, actually.
You come in here looking like a rodeo clown every week, and I thought I'll show you what fashion is, Don. I've got a linen...
very nice.
Linen shorts and shirt and glasses.
Where are the braces?
This is a fashion accessory.
You joke. Is it really? Is it really?
Yeah, fashion accessory, Don. I don't need glasses.
Do you think they'll go with your braces?
They probably will. I'm just trying to show you what fashion's about rather than you coming in here looking like a pizza.
Braces off the hip down to their knee.
That's it. Now,
it changes your whole personality instead of dark clothing.
That's right, and a dark
personality. Ivan's dressed in black and blue. No imagination, Ivan. Why do we wear? Why exactly? I was just going to say, why do we wear those colours in Melbourne? Well, I don't know, but I found it really difficult today. It's overcast, as his lordship's mentioned, and people are riding their bikes and running in dark colours. Now, it's overcast, and I nearly cleaned up a bikie. One bikie, they've got to understand.
Cyclist.
Oh, thank you.
Well, not a bikie, is someone who rides a motorbike.
Okay, righto, granted.
Yeah,
cyclists down around the Esplanade St Kilda, a grey top, light grey top, black pants, black bike, black shoes. He just blended into the asphalt on the road. And being overcast this morning, very, very difficult to see him.
So I drove past, speaking about Beaconsfield Parade, Beaconsfield Parade and the vagrant who's set up camp, set up a little house on the boulevard, which is our most prestigious boulevard in Melbourne. Not to say that's a lot, but that is our most prestigious boulevard. I noticed there was an ambulance, a Micah ambulance outside attending to her yesterday, with 4 ambulance officers fawning over her, and I want to know why that person would still be allowed to camp there, and B, why would she be taking up the time of the ambulance officers and a Micah ambulance when she shouldn't be there in the first place. There's one set of rules. Wait till we get on one set of rules for some and one set for another.
That's interesting, because I have seen that there about 12 months ago. The same thing, they were packing up her gear and taking her away. I think she was there overnight. We made inquiries, didn't we? She was in hospital overnight and back there the next day.
What a joke. And why is that allowed to happen? So that's one set of rules for some. Wait till we get on to one set of rules for some and one set for others. But I know the doctor, Dr. Fordham, who has now become a honorary doctorate. He has now.
Of what?
Being a doctor.
Of what?
Because he's your psychoanalyst.
No, hang on. What, psychology is a...
Psychology. And he would be annoyed that I'm about to say this because he likes to plan the show, but he's not on it today.
Ooh.
But anyhow, the doc, we sent him every 2 weeks, we sent the doctor a cap, which is you cannot be serious cap. Remember he said he likes stuff for nothing? And we sent him up.
Did he say... He wouldn't say that.
He did say that last week, didn't he? Oh. He said he likes stuff for nothing, and you mentioned it. And he told us about Kerry Packer going to a function, who's a multi-billionaire, and he said he took the hamper with the chocolates and the Tim Tams in it. Don't you remember that,
Yeah,
Don?
I remember that Kerry Packer thing.
Yeah, that's right. And he said he liked stuff for nothing. You forgot that as well. So, Don.
Yes.
Don.
Yes, Johnny.
we sent him up the hat, and michaelchristianmenswear.com, up your bum, go home. No, it's michaelchristianmenswear.com. Michael Christian has now sent out hats. So this is a shout out. This is the reason I'm mentioning the doc wouldn't like this. He said, don't mention the shout outs at the start of the show. He said, because people aren't interested. But I'm saying to you that Mick Christian...
why don't you listen to it? You don't listen to anyone.
Mick Christian has sent over some people who he sent out hats to. He's had to get another run of hats, the caps and the bucket hats, Don. And he said, this is what he said. He said, sending you some texts. I'll just give you a couple. He said, just got a delivery. This is from Craig Scott. Thanks, Michael. Craig Scott. Craig Scott. Just got a delivery of my cap. Shit hot. We'll wear it today with pride. Pride, I don't think he's with pride. See, that's one of the words that's been bastardised or been...
What, pride or gay?
Yeah, so if you say we had a gay time out at the football...
Fun time.
A fun time, gay time, yeah, that is a...
That was an icy pole too, wasn't it, on ice cream?
Gay time? Yeah, it still is.
Is that still... You can still buy it, gay time, but they haven't changed the name of that.
Received my hat. Thank you very much, magnificent Jeremy. Jeremy. And then it said, this bloke said, I'm voting for Sam next election. Don't care what state, federal, Sam is my vote. I hope he runs. Do the... He said. They're very happy with the hats, Don. And so we sent one to the doc, who's got a honorary doctorate. So
his doc name embroiled in it?
Embroidered.
Embroiled.
Between you and Don,
I picked that one up myself.
Between you, Don, and Ivan,
I am sharp.
You've got autism.
I'm sharp.
You are just illiterate. Now, Ivan tried to tell me about a euphorism, and I said, "There's no R in euphorism. It's euphemism."
No.
It was talking about. Tell us what you were talking about. Incidentally, this is the euphemism, Don, which is a. Go on.
The NFL, what's that? That's the gridiron.
Yeah,
national football, though.
So they have Monday night footy.
Yep.
So there was a Troy Ackerman, who's the broadcaster, and I'll read it out.
Come on.
See what you think. And he's calling one of the games. My hope is the competition committee looks at this in the next set of meetings, and we take the dresses off. Well, he said that, and
they've gone berserk.
They've taken the dresses off.
I mean, don't act like women. Don't carry on like girls. I mean, he's talking about to become more masculine, Don. And they've gone burlesque.
Oh,
they've gone burlesque, Don.
Okay.
Which brings me to...
I'm getting sick of it.
Well, of course you're getting sick of it, but we all are. But no one pushes back on it because they're so... It's like treading on eggshells. They don't want to be cancelled for having an opinion which is in the public domain, which is by far the most popular opinion. That's why people listen to us, Don, because we say it as it is and we reflect what most people think. Here's another one. Why do companies promote overweight models, that is men or women, to model their clothes or their products? They are just indirectly sanctioning the fact that it's okay to be overweight and almost obese, and it's not. It's not okay to be overweight. It's deleterious to your health.
It's a person's decision. That's their decision.
So
isn't it?
why glorify it by modelling clothes or products on overweight people? It is bad for your health. It's bad for the public health system. It exacerbates the onset of COVID. There is a whole lot of reasons why you shouldn't be overweight. And to promote people saying wearing clothes and saying overweight, it is just kowtowing to a popular trend where people are becoming obese and out of shape. Now, if you think that's...
I would like to ask you... You've got a good guest coming in today, because that was... Why are we fat, though, as a society?
Because we're lazy and
there's got to be... No, you can't just put it down to laziness.
Because you eat the wrong foods, Don.
It can't be just the wrong foods. It's got to be a lot of things.
You are what you put in your body, Don. And at some stage when you see you're getting out of shape, you might say, I've got to push the groceries back a bit for a couple of weeks rather than just stuffing yourself with Krispy Kremes and drinking. And so people have, and then you have people modelling stuff, men and women, this is the two genders. There's still only two genders, Don. Don't let us have any confusion about that. Biologically, you're a man or you're a woman or you're a male or a female. Why do we say it's okay to be overweight and therefore we show people being overweight? Why? It's not right. And
I wonder what the doctors would say these days, because you go into the office, see the GP, and he says, oh, you know there, Don, you know, Sam, you're a bit overweight, you should pare it back a bit. I wonder if he's allowed to say that anymore.
Well, if the bloke can't say take the dresses off and act like men in the NFL, God help us.
I know a fellow who was overweight. He went in for an operation. The bloke was just about to operate. He said, I can't operate on you. Sent him home, told him to lose weight.
That's right, Don.
Sent him home. The surgeon sent him home. He told me himself. He was just overweight. Why would you...
So we were in the process, Don, of just... and Ivan. Now, so Ivan, you've just come back from the mines over there. Are they still sending coal over to China to power up the 1,000 coal-fired power stations they've got so they can provide power to...
We're the only ones, we're the only woke ones that won't...
Yeah, we're the only ones getting rid of our coal-fired power stations. Everyone else. Don, we're sending a shout out to and the doc doesn't like this, but we're doing it.
Why don't you listen to someone else for a change?
Listen to someone else?
Instead of just doing it your way.
Well, Don, I keep doing it my way until you decide that you'll do it your way.
I've given up.
Fall in behind you.
No. You'd fall in behind no one.
Pete, down at the 476, his coffee shop down there.
Where's that?
476. This is a shout out to Pete, 476.
Oh, where we get our coffees?
Yeah.
Yeah, Pete, hey? Yep. I went there this morning.
Pete, yeah, that's right. Well, I'm just giving a shout out to him.
Why?
Because he said he listens. And we
Really?
only give shout-outs to people who say they listen to the podcast, as opposed to you hanging your head over looking at young girls playing netball and giving shout-outs to people that don't even listen. You're just getting your jollies off by watching young girls play basketball.
Scott McGuinness listens to this too.
Well,
I thought he had a few brains, Scott.
But well, let me tell you, I'm sending this is another shout-out to Ian and Libby McNaughton. Have you ever heard of the McNaughtons? Yeah. They own the whole of the properties, they won't like me saying this, whole of the properties down where Bell's Beach is. They own the property there, or they did. Have you ever been to Bell's Beach?
Well, isn't that funny? Bell's Beach, in the old days, didn't you have to go through a farm? This is before...
Their farm, the McNaughtons.
Well, can I finish the story? You had to ask the farmer, could I please go through your paddocks to get to this wave? Is that the way... It started back in the 50s.
Now,
go on.
Can I do it now?
Thank you.
That's the McNaughtons, Don.
I'll be buggered.
They own the property where Bell's Beach, and I used to
Hang on, so can I ask a question?
Go ahead, Don.
Why? I thought it was now a national park through there. You got roads or...
It's now roads through there so you can get to Bell's and you don't have to ask them at Norton's, can I go through your gate to get to the surf beach? I used to have to do that, Don. I surfed down there in the 50s. In the 50s.
With the longboards.
What are you with young? What, a 6-year-old? They wouldn't allow you. Mum and Dad.
In 50,
your mum and dad wouldn't let you out on the board.
In 1959, Don, I was 16. So Don, I used to...
What size board?
9.6.
No, I had a 9.6 in 1960. Yes, they were 12.6s.
It was called an Okanui board.
Who made it?
Clem Bell.
Mine was a George Rice with 3 strings. Mine had 3 strings in it.
That's right. And you used to take the cork out and drain
Rice.
it. That was hollow. Now, anyhow,
what?
I used to surf.
No, mine's fibre.
I used to surf Bell's Beach and the McNaughton. So they listen to this. So we're sending a shout out.
Hang on. So how did you get to Bell's Beach back in those days?
In a car.
Oh, you're a smart ass.
What do you mean?
So did you go through the paddocks?
Did you hear what your ears painted on?
I don't know if they put a track through.
Did I just say that?
It originally was paddocks. Now you in the late 50s, there obviously was a road through to it.
Obviously, there was a track that you could get down to it. Anyhow, Don, we're sending a shout out to Libby and Ian McNaughton, who listen to this and agree with most things we say. In fact, almost everything we say. And so that's the McNaughtons, and they had I'm not sure they had a son or might be a brother called Pip McNaughton.
Hang on, that's a female, Pip, isn't it?
No, well, Pippa can be, but this is Pip is not a female.
Great expectations there. Charles Dickens had Pip in Great Expectations, who was a male.
Other shout out, Don, is to Andrew, who wanted one of our caps with "You Cannot Be Serious." He has it up on the shelf at the coffee shop is called 18 Pence Lane. 18 Pence Lane.
Where is
Ivan? It's under Ivan's building that he lives in, up in the Docklands, and that's Andrew, and he makes very nice coffee along.
Does he make good coffee? It's hard to find a good one.
You've had it before, Don. You've been there.
Have I?
You remember you went in and you said to that girl, Sandy her name is, you said, and
Sandy.
She had a mask on and you said, "You're a good-looking girl, take the mask off, give me a look at you." And I said, "Don, you can't speak to women like that." And he said, "No, take it off."
You look pretty.
"Yeah, you look pretty." And Andrew said, "Don, please, that's the man that we just returned after the shock of you telling her to take a mask off because you want to have a look at her." So this is the trouble that we get in, Don, taking you around with us, because you're of a bygone era. You are an anachronism. Don, do you know what that means? You're a Luddite. Someone that lived in a different world a long time ago.
You do a good W.C. Fields.
Throughout the Middle Ages, the use
you
of
talk on the
alcohol
other
was
side of the mouth.
universal, and so, drunkenness was so common it was unnoticed. It was called the Middle
Come
Ages.
on, come on.
Right. So they're the shout-outs against the Doc Fordham's edicts. Now, Don.
We've done the shout-outs. Do we do death notices next?
Now, what about these for a couple of shitheads? This is what one set of rules for some people, one set for others. There's a bloke called Brad Homewood and Tony Gleeson glued themselves to a Picasso exhibition at the National Gallery of Victoria on behalf of, is it Climate Rebellion or some bloody climate...
But they've achieved, by you talking about it, they've achieved what they set out to do. And I think there is a screen across that particular painting, so they're not actually ruining the painting.
No.
But by you giving it airtime is giving them what they set out to do.
I gave giving it airtime because it was in the paper about people being allowed to go into the National Gallery of Victoria, and whether there's a screen across it or not, glue themselves to it, make a public nuisance of themselves and not get charged for it on the basis that this ridiculous thing that they're part of, Climate Rebellion, has anything to do with changing the climate. That's what I'm annoyed about when I get lumbered in my foyer of my apartment where I live because I happen to mention if anyone was ever going to march up Collins Street in protest to this state government, now would be a good time. And I got charged with, I had the police visit me and say, "Well, am I organising a march?"
What's that got to do with climate change?
Well, the fact that I get lumbered for even just chatting about it, but
issue.
they don't get charged for creating a public nuisance, Don.
What about vandalism?
Well, all that, they have to get the resources of the police to go down to unglue them.
I just leave them there.
Oh, well, people might want to look at the painting.
No, I just leave them there. Just leave them there.
If you're stuck to the facade
leave
of the
them there.
Don, so if you go into the National Gallery of Victoria and want to look at Picasso's painting, but there's two shitheads.
Leave them there.
There's two shitheads
They
glued
will not glue the hands again. If you left them there, leave them.
Are you
there.
listening to what I'm saying?
And
what happens
you're
if
not
you wanted to look at the painting? And there's
Just
two shitheads.
leave them there with their hands stuck to the perspex or whatever it is, and let them go through the agony.
So the climate change debate goes on, and they say there is more evidence coming out that carbon emissions, CO2 emissions, has nothing to do with climate change. It's the action of the sun and the moon on the planet, and there's charts and data going saying the weather hasn't changed at all for 100 or 200 years, and yet we put up with this nonsense. Remember when they said, Ivan, when
You're just going over old ground here.
Do you remember when we said, everyone said, "Oh, there's a hole in the ozone layer and the world is about to disappear"? And And now there's no hole. They don't even mention it because the hole's closed up because it had nothing to do with the bullshit they were espousing. And then we get on to the electric vehicles. And I noticed that the people in Brighton, they want a electricity tariff, or they want to be able to charge their vehicles. And of course, people are running out of power down in Brighton because everyone's charging up their electric vehicle, which might have very low emissions, but of course you have to power up more power stations to provide electricity, so it's a catch-22. You can't get power unless you actually provide more infrastructure to make the power, which creates CO2, which has nothing to do with climate change, Don. Are you listening? Right, so that's just one set of rules for some and one set for the other. What about this government is trying to get re-elected? This is the government, Don and Ivan, this is the government that made you stay indoors, could only go outside.
Yeah, so give me something new. We know all that. What are they doing now?
This is the government, Don.
I understand.
Well, that made you, they're seeking re-election. This is the government that drove this state into the ground.
I know.
They made you stay indoors for if you could only go out for 2 hours. You could only go out if you went in twos. You could only wear a mask. You couldn't go 5K from home. They had a curfew, and yet they're stopped. And they found out to be a completely nonsensical lie. It was.
But what about
the COVID and the vaccinations that they demanded are completely useless. Completely.
Yes, but what
they
about
are a furphy.
Okay, but what about the aftermath? And it's happening right now. Is the fact that workers are not going back to work. Now, as an employer, you want your pound of flesh for the dollar that you pay. Now, these people are at home 3 days a week, or come to work 2 days, or whatever it is. They're not there their full 40 hours a week at their job. And I have spoken to people who are working from home, and a lot of them find it hard to concentrate. They wander around, they go off course and whatever else, because there are distractions. When is the government going to legislate that these people go back to work?
They're not, Don. They're not going to legislate because they're the people hoping that will vote them back into power from actually doing nothing and getting a wage. And it's all right for the government and the people in Parliament here who suffer no ill effects of being locked up because they get a guaranteed wage.
They gave themselves a wage rise through the COVID pandemic.
This is the government in this state that is asking to be re-elected. And as for so we get on to Novak Djokovic, who I said...
Hang on, just going back, just before you get on to... You haven't heard from Ian Cook how his election is going out in Mulgrave against Daniel Andrews.
So this is the government...
Gee, I'd love him to win it.
So this is the government, Don, that wants to be re-elected and yet puts a private enterprise business out of business, Ian Cook Foods, dishonestly, corruptly, and against any standard of law in the Westminster system we live in. A free enterprise company railroaded out corruptly and dishonestly, and this is the government that wants to be re-elected.
If you listen to the Libs' policies, they're in front. The Labor Party are playing catch-up. They were on the front foot with regard to hospitalisation, the medical, the health and whatever else. Labor are running second there, and they've come up with another one, reducing travel on regional railways. Now Labor is coming in second. So there's not much originality from the Labor Party.
They've got nothing. They can't run on their record, Don, because they have none. They are just liars, and they're dishonest, and they're corrupt, that party.
The other thing is, John, why have so many senior ministers resigned from the Labor Party? I think Molino's not going ahead.
I don't know.
And there's 2 or 3 others, cabinet ministers not going, or contesting the next election.
So we got on to Novak Djokovic, who is part of the government's campaign. He wouldn't get vaccinated, and we said he'll become a hero, Novak Djokovic. He decided not to get vaccinated, and the nonsense going on about what that vaccination was meant to do for you but is not doing for you. It's deleterious to your health. It was just a giant thing by the pharmaceutical companies and aided and abetted by numbskulls like Van Diemen and Sutton, who were on the
Van Diemen?
Wasn't she the health minister at one stage?
Van
and
Diemen.
Sutton, who have no idea what they're doing, and they just like sheep. And we follow on, but we've had enough, Don, because...
The best one was the one from South Australia, Spuria, I think, where she said, if the footy goes into the crowd, don't touch it.
Can you believe that's right? Don't touch. And then we have Mr. Babbage and Mr. Burbank, who go up and probably do the wrong thing and get put in jail in solitary confinement for 3 months for daring to go to a football game.
No,
and
maximum
yet you come back
security.
here.
Big difference, maximum security.
What did I say?
Solitary.
Oh, maximum security. Quite right, Don. Thank you for correcting me there. So that they went over there, and then suddenly 5 people got COVID here, and the Premier shut the whole state down and drove it into the ground, and yet because there's an election coming up, there's 10,000 cases a day. There's people dying from what they say.
You realise we're still under state of emergency, don't you? You when?
12th of October at midnight.
And
No, that was mandatory wearing of the masks.
wouldn't that be a coincidence, Don, that there's an election coming up? There's
been no. Hang on. Have a look at that. You've got thank goodness you're here.
The government propaganda with all their social media. They've got hundreds of people sending messages out from the Premier on TikTok and speaking absolute nonsense and lying to the electorate, the government, and. These are the people that said we couldn't have a grand final here, and yet now there's 10,000 people a day walking around with COVID and getting tested. And we have been sold. Don, this is one set of rules for some and one set for the others. And if they don't let Novak Djokovic come back and play in the Australian Tennis Open, it just shows you how corrupt and dishonest they are. So that's that. Now,
I think more to the point, how did Djokovic get in last year?
He didn't.
He got into Australia last year.
Because he was.
Who allowed him? Everybody went to undercover. Nobody's put their hand up and said, we did it. Was it the Victorian government? Was it Tennis Australia? Was it the federal government?
Tennis Australia.
How did he get an exemption?
Tennis Australia lobbied, didn't they, the government, and he was allowed in, and then he was...
Who did they lobby, Australia or Victoria?
They lobbied Victoria.
Everybody went to ground.
Because they couldn't, if you couldn't sack people from going to work if they weren't vaccinated, yet you couldn't have let the number one tennis player in the world...
There are lesser known players, John, who were sent back.
Who weren't.
Who were.
And weren't. There was people played here that weren't vaccinated. This is what our friend John Locko, he gave us all the information on that because he got it from a whistleblower. And it's just, what?
An umpire.
Yes, an umpire. Don, they just lie to you and they just fabricate everything to suit their own political ends.
I wonder if we'll look back on this in years to come and say, whatever happened in Victoria? What about this latest one about the sending a survey out by Labor and you get a coupon?
That's right.
Has anything come of that? It was on the front page of The Sun 2 weeks ago.
Was that your friend that you asked me to ring? Was that her?
Yes,
No.
she was her father got it. You're right.
Yeah.
She's just standing as an independent on the peninsula.
Yeah, so they're buying votes.
Well, I don't know what they're doing with it.
So go on, what are you explaining then?
No, I'm trying. I don't know what's happened because it's gone quiet.
What coupon do you get?
Beg your pardon?
What coupon do you get?
I don't know. That's
Well,
what I would... It was just a front page thing. It said you get a coupon if you fill out this survey.
That's what I asked you. So you get a coupon if you
For
fill
what?
out
I
this
don't know what
survey.
it's for.
So they're buying votes. You get a coupon for free
they're buying
stuff.
information.
You get a coupon for free stuff if you, what?
Well, you're filling out a survey. For information, you receive a coupon.
Well, that's buying votes, isn't it?
Well, you doesn't
Well, who
necessarily
sanctioned the
have
coupons?
to
The
vote
government.
for them. Beg your pardon?
If the government sanctioned the survey. Is it
Yes.
a government? So the sitting government is giving you a coupon if you'll fill out a survey saying we're doing a great job.
No, I don't know what the survey was.
So you don't
but
know
even to fill out the survey, it's irrelevant.
So as it turns out, you don't know what you're talking
No,
about.
you're an idiot. You are a clown. You are a clown.
So what
Hang on,
coupon is it?
Hang on. Listen, what about the contradiction?
Yep.
between two former teammates, Danielle Laidley and Wayne Carey.
Go ahead.
Well, just stop and have a real think. One's going up and one's going down.
Hang on, Don, please. I'm happy to. I'm happy.
Well,
happy to engage in this conversation. Tell us what you're talking about.
Well, similar. There's a bit of a similar background. Danielle Laidley.
Danny Laidley, yes.
No, Danielle.
Yeah, that's right, Danny. That's her that's her abbreviated name now that she's decided to be a trans girl or
an ambassador for Caulfield Cup.
Go on, what's
the races last week, I think it was.
So Danny was at the races.
Getting a lot of public exposure.
Yeah, just people fawning over it for the politically correct aspect that it gives everyone, makes them feel warm and fuzzy that we're including everyone in society. Yep.
Didn't it come about because of stalking and also a drug charge?
Yeah.
Wasn't that...
Is this Danny?
Yes,
Danielle. Correct. That's correct. She has
and
a fairly checkered background.
She's gone on to bigger and better things.
Exactly.
Whereas
Wayne,
her teammate or his?
Yes, his former teammate.
Their team. No, not their is plural.
No,
it's possessive. There.
they call them they. What? I'm not sure if Danny's a cross-dresser.
Hang on. No. I'm just
or a lesbian. Is she a lesbian?
No.
Well, she goes out with a...
No, just anyway, let's not get onto that. But then Wayne Carey is caught with a substance and he's no longer working in the media.
Exactly, Don.
So isn't there a contradiction?
The police have dropped all charges as of a couple of days ago.
Well, they didn't have any charges.
And this started off, Don, by me saying there's one set of rules for some.
that was poorly handled. What happened to the powder?
I think that was...
The other one that fascinates me...
Mr. Carey?
Beg your pardon?
I think that was very well handled by Mr. Carey, because where is the powder? Gone.
Mr. Carey lost every job he had, and this is what I said, Don. One set of rules for someone. Danny Laidley, quite rightly, you said then, has a fairly checkered background as far as stalking and all that. That's public knowledge. We're not making that up. And yet becomes feted by people because he's come out and he's signalled that he's a woman or he's a whatever he is. She is, Danny. And
why do you think he's doing it? Or he, she?
Why do you think people are falling over themselves photograph him? And because they want to be part of this woke, makes them feel good because they hide their own embarrassment about what their prejudices are, which is absolute bullshit. You wait till I get onto the AFL. We'll do this in the next segment.
Can I bring up another one?
We'll get this.
It's called subjudice, I think it is, with a lot of trial by media. Brittany Higgins. Have you followed that at all?
I was going to get onto that in the next
segment.
Don,
second?
Could I ask you a question?
Hang on, answer mine. Are you getting onto it in the next segment or second?
I was going to do it in the next one and bring the AFL into it. That's just, you've got to see what the AFL are doing with Indigenous Australian footballers. Don, could I ask you a question? Would you mind taking your foot off the table, because on the bottom of your shoe, which is about 1 foot away from my nostrils, you've got dog shit on it.
Have I really?
Yes.
Have I, Ivan?
I can't see.
Yes, say
you have dog shit on your...
Why? It would stink.
That's why. Why did you put your foot up on the table? Why did you put your foot up on the table, Don?
Because I'm relaxing.
Well, don't put your feet up on the table in front of the computer that I'm trying to make sure...
Have you pressed the buttons this week?
What?
You've pressed recording.
How
I couldn't believe a 75-year-old carrying on like a 5-year-old last week. Geez. And it wasn't his fault. He blamed everybody else except himself, and he's in control of the panel.
I heard you kick the wire out, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Don said he couldn't believe me carrying on. Don comes in here, sits down there, doesn't speak into the microphone, eats while he's speaking, has his hand across his mouth, does absolutely fuck all, never gets a guest, never brings a topic up, doesn't like to be interrupted when he gets on a train of thought that he can suddenly remember what he was trying to say, can't remember a function that I gave him a date to attend, and sits there, and you are...
Attack is the best means of defence for you.
Right, so now... I was just going to mention did I mention the climate change hoax? We are being...
You have.
Have I?
Short-term memory loss.
We did the chat.
Oh, jeez, that's it. Wind it up, will you, please?
All right, well...
Dr. Nicole.
Oh, yeah,
Dr. Nicole.
do you know Dr. Nicole, the Sheila you tried to make a hit on?
Oh, God, Doctor. Oh, jeez.
Come on, Ivan.
God.
All right, no, she's completed the course.
Dr. Nicole.
What course?
The bicycle cycling course around the bay.
Oh, it sounds like
So
she was
what?
studying for
We're
a
going to
course.
have a party, are we?
You're as bad as Don.
Oh, jeez.
Ivan, you're as bad. Ivan,
God.
you're as bad as Don.
Oh.
She said she's completed a course. It sounds like she's sitting for a medical exam.
Oh,
It's
I
a
thought
fucking...
there was going to be something big.
Well, explain it properly,
God.
mate. Explain. People like Mr. McNaughton and Libby and Pete and Andrew, they can't understand the fucking words you're talking
Scott
about.
McGuinness,
Scott and McGuinness.
Tom
and
Shelby.
Tom, yeah, all those people. Shane Crawford. Shane,
Yeah,
go
how's
on.
he? Have you heard from him?
Shut up, Don. Go ahead, Ivan. Explain what you're talking about.
Shall I set the scene? The United
Speak
Energy
into the
around
microphone,
bay.
mate. Well, kiss
No,
it.
you mean
The bay.
no, you mean the bike ride around the bay. She got in the bike and rode around the bay. So what?
Well, she's been injured, you said.
She was. She had a knee reconstruction 2 months
Well, so this is how you do it. I'd like to send
Oh,
this-
here we go. Control freak.
Well,
Do
Don,
it my way.
Don, this is how you do it.
Oh.
Let's see if you can learn. Ivan,
Yeah, I'm learning.
here's a shout out to Dr. Nicole.
Don't be so demeaning and condescending.
Your condescending's better, yeah. I'm not
You,
demeaning.
you are,
Of course I'm being condescending.
and you're demeaning.
So, Ivan, this is how you do it. I'm sending a shout out to Dr. Nicole, who was a guest here a couple of times on You Cannot Be Serious, and she's had a medical problem. She's had a knee reconstruction. She went on a bike riding tour around the bay, and she just texted in, or she put on her social media platform that she completed the... That's how you do it, mate. You give us some information.
Why do people go on? This is another. Can I? Why do people go? What is it? Facebook or TikTok or TikTok? What's it called?
Tim Tam.
Oh, anyway,
Tim Tams.
all that bullshit. Why do people go on there and put all this bullshit? Haven't they got a life?
Because they're trying to be Andy Warhol. Do you know who Andy Warhol
Yeah,
was?
he's the painter.
He was,
Yeah.
Don, and he said famously, he said, people want to be famous for 15 seconds or minutes in their life, and therefore they go on to the social media platform thinking that people can give a fuck about what they say and that they'll take them seriously. And it's bullshit.
What
It
is social media?
It is. It's just a way to shout out to be noticed.
Really?
And we do it. We do it only to promote this podcast. But I've got off. I used to actually read what people used to say, good or bad. And I think.
Did you reply to it?
I used to. I used to reply to it, and I think, what am I
Didn't that
engaging with these fucking
Why did you do that?
low IQ people for?
Okay, hang on. Why did you do it?
Yeah.
Why did you do it? You're just as bad as what they are.
Don, I conceded that I used to. I don't do it anymore
But
because
why did you do it?
if someone said something and refuted what I said on this platform here,
yeah.
I used to say, "Are you serious? What? You don't even listen to what I say, and you're a fucking
Oh, I
idiot."
see.
And then they'd say, "Oh, well, you're a fucking racist and a homophobe."
right,
And I say,
okay.
"What am I?"
But they're keyboard warriors. They don't put a face to their or name to it.
Cowards, Don.
Is that
Some
what
of
it
them
is?
put faces to
Oh,
names to
do
it.
they put their actual name
Well, I
across?
don't know. Who cares? But
Well, I do because
okay, so
no, they don't.
So,
well,
Don,
what non
before we close this
Yep.
down, this one, because we're coming back to Brittany, don't worry about that. And we got a whole. You wait till we get onto the AFL, how they're exploiting Indigenous footballers. It is you've got trying to compensate for their own white privilege by pretending. By trying
Righto,
to
hit the button.
By trying to actually apologise for who they are, who they think they are, or who they think we are. I don't know why we keep apologising, or but you wait till we get on to
That's
their
a good
latest
tease.
push.
Okay, good tease. Hit the button.
Anything else?
No, hit the button. Make sure you don't bugger it.